Stop that at once, boy! You have no right!
These symbols speak of a pact sealed under the moon's shadow. The forgotten guardians bound their oath in eternal vigil.
My word, the boy is correct.
The translation confirms the ancient pact of unity.
The boy's hand moved fast, tracing symbols that no one in the room could read. The lead professor leaned over the glass case and slammed his palm on the table. "It's not possible. We've tested every angle. This contract is worthless until we solve it. Another 2 hours, and we lose the entire sale. We need a real linguist, not a kid." The boy didn't flinch. He just kept reading out loud, words rolling off his tongue like he had known them his whole life. "The temple agrees to pay the ruler 30 pieces of gold for the sacred carvings. Delivery in 7 days. If any part is damaged, the whole deal ends." The room went dead quiet. 12 professors stared at the kid they had just dismissed. The boy stood up, voice steady. "It's right here. The deal between the Egyptian ruler and the temple master. I read it in under 20 seconds. Prove it," the lead professor said. "Or get out." The boy didn't argue. He just turned and walked out of the room. That was 3 months ago. The boy's name is Marcus. Marcus Lee. He is 16 years old, black, and he has slept on park benches more nights than he can count. His story starts with the day his mother died. It was a Tuesday in October. The house was too quiet. The air smelled like old food and hospital flowers. Marcus sat on the floor beside her bed, holding her hand. She was weak, but she still managed to smile at him. "You're my strong boy," she said. Her voice was soft, like she was saving her strength. "Don't let anyone tell you you're not good enough." Marcus was 12 then. He nodded, but he didn't know what she meant. She had been sick for 3 months. The cancer had come fast, and every night she coughed blood into tissues she had hidden under her pillow. Marcus would wipe her face with a cool cloth and hold her hand until she fell asleep. On the day she died, she squeezed his fingers one last time and said, "Promise me you'll keep reading. The books won't ever leave you." Marcus was 12. He had no idea what she meant by that. 2 weeks later, she was gone. The funeral was small. Only the neighbors came. His father was already gone years before, gone in prison, serving a sentence he said he didn't commit. When Marcus was taken to the foster home, the lady who picked him up looked at him like he was a problem. "You're too much trouble," she said. "Black boys like you always are." Marcus learned fast. When you're black and poor, and not really theirs, you're always the easy answer. They called him the boy who cried when he needed to see the nurse for a cut on his arm. They called him the boy who stole when the school lost a pencil. They called him the boy who lies when he told them he hadn't seen the lunch money. He learned that the easy answer was always the one they wanted. So he ran. He ran to the public library on the corner. It was his only safe place. The doors opened at 10 in the morning and stayed open until 9 at night. Inside, the books didn't judge him. The books didn't ask where he slept last night. The books just existed. They sat there on the shelves, quiet and steady, waiting for someone to pick them up. Mrs. Patel worked at the front desk. She was in her 60s, had kind eyes, and a voice like warm tea. She noticed him first. "You keep coming back," she said one afternoon. "You read the same books over and over." Marcus shrugged. "They're interesting." Mrs. Patel smiled. "What's your name?" "Marcus." She wrote it down on a card. "Marcus, I think you're special. Don't let anyone tell you different." She gave him a library card. No money needed, just trust. That card became his most important thing. It proved that someone saw him. At 12, Marcus already read faster than most grown people. He read everything: history books, science books, even the old ones in the back, the ones with pages that smelled like time. He read about ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, ancient Rome. He read until his eyes hurt. The words started to make sense to him in a way nothing else in his life did. The dead languages especially. But the real magic happened when he read about the dead languages. He found a book called Lost Scripts of the Nile. It was old and the pages were yellow. Marcus read it cover to cover. He read it again and again. The words stuck in his head like pictures. He didn't have to try. The words just stayed. One night after the library closed, Marcus walked home through the dark streets. His shoes were worn out. He had stuffed newspaper in them to keep his feet warm. He still had $180 saved from odd jobs, money he earned by carrying groceries for neighbors. But the rent was $720 a month, and his foster mother had cut off his food money because he was too old to eat free. That night, he cried for the first time since his mother died. He cried because he knew he was running out of time. The foster mother had already told him she would kick him out by the end of the month. The rent was due in 3 days. The leaking roof was costing the family another $400 that month. Marcus had $180, and it wasn't enough. He sat on the edge of his thin mattress in the basement room and held the library card like it was the only thing keeping him alive. The next morning he went back to the library. Mrs. Patel was there early. "You look tired," she said. Marcus told her everything. About the house, about the money, about the man who told him he was worthless. Mrs. Patel didn't say much. She just reached into her pocket and pulled out $10. "This is for a new pair of shoes," she said, "and these are for the food. You eat first, okay?" Marcus took the money. He felt small, but he also felt seen. For the first time in years, someone saw the pain and gave him a way to keep going. From that day on, the library became more than a place to read. It became his home. He kept reading. He kept saving. Every week he worked 2 jobs after school, one at the corner store, one helping an old man sweep the sidewalk. The old man gave him $1 each time and said, "Keep it, son. You need it more than I do." Marcus's savings grew to $1,200, but the repair bill for the leaking roof at the foster house was $3,400. His foster mother kept saying they didn't have the money. Marcus stopped eating lunch some days. He walked to school hungry so he could save the bus fare. He wore the same shirt 3 times because the other shirts were too small and torn. Mrs. Patel noticed. She started saving him a sandwich in her purse. "You're my little brother now," she told him. "I can't watch you go hungry." Every Sunday, she would leave an extra meal in his bag. Marcus would eat it at the library table and remember her kind eyes. He never told her how much it meant. He just kept reading. At 13, Marcus read a book about an ancient Egyptian contract. He read it until the words burned into his brain. He didn't even know why he read it. He just knew the symbols looked like they belonged to him. That was the first time he tried to read something he wasn't supposed to read. He took the book home in his backpack. That night he sat on his thin mattress in the basement room of the foster house and read by flashlight. The words made sense. Perfect sense. Like he had written them himself. He stayed up until 3 in the morning. The next morning he showed the book to Mrs. Patel. "This is the same book from the library," she said. "But you read the part nobody else can read?" Marcus nodded. Mrs. Patel hugged him. "You're going to be somebody great one day, Marcus. I believe that." She cried a little. "I always knew you were special, but the world didn't believe it yet." The first time he was told he was worthless was at school. The teacher said, "Marcus, you're not even trying. You should be in special classes, not normal ones." Marcus didn't fight back. He just smiled and went to his seat. He kept reading. He kept saving. At 14, he ran away from the foster home for good. He took nothing but the clothes on his back and the library card. He moved into an empty room above a closed store. He bought a used sleeping bag at a yard sale for $18. He lived there for 6 months. The roof leaked. He caught the water in an old bucket. He still read. He read every night until his eyes burned. The books were his only friends. The books never left him. The books never told him he was too much trouble. The books never called him worthless. Then one day, a man with a fancy suit came to the library looking for translators. He wanted someone who could read ancient Egyptian contracts for big money. The man laughed when he saw Marcus. "You? Kid, you don't even have a high school diploma." Marcus didn't argue. He just stood there, quiet. The man walked away. That was the day Marcus started planning. He didn't plan to take the job. He didn't plan to prove anyone wrong. He just planned to be ready when the moment came. Because deep down, he knew the moment would come. It always does. 3 months ago, the day of the big meeting, Marcus had walked into the museum by accident. He was delivering a package for the man downstairs. The security guard, the same one who had told him to get out before, grabbed his arm. "Get out of here, boy. You don't belong here." Marcus's voice was quiet. "I can hear you, sir. The guard's face turned red. You little. But Marcus didn't finish the sentence. He just stood there. His hands shook, but his feet stayed planted. The man let go. Marcus walked straight to the front desk and asked for the translator job. The man looked him up and down. You're 15. You have no papers. You're not even wearing shoes that aren't falling apart. Marcus looked down at his own feet. The shoes had newspaper stuffed in them. He had ironed the paper 3 times that morning, so no one would notice. I know, he said. The man laughed. You think you can just walk in here and read a contract worth millions? You're wasting my time. Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't argue. He just nodded. I understand. He turned and walked out. But he didn't stop. He went back home. He sat down on his thin mattress. He pulled out the old book about the Egyptian contract. He read it one more time. He closed his eyes and saw every symbol, every line, every word. Then he stood up, put on his jacket, and walked back to the museum. This time, he didn't ask for the job. He just stood in the doorway of the meeting room. The lead professor saw him. What are you doing here? Marcus's voice was calm. I can read the contract. The room laughed. The professor pointed at the door. Get out. Marcus didn't move. I'm not leaving until you hear me. That was when the humiliation started. The boy on the stage today is the same boy. He is 16 now. He still wears the same jacket, the same shoes with newspaper in them, the same quiet voice. But the room is different now. The room is full of rich people. The room is full of cameras. The room is full of people who once told him he was worthless, and now they are listening. The boy steps to the table. His voice is steady. The contract starts on line 1. It is a deal between Pharaoh's representative and the high priest of the temple. The representative agrees to hand over the sacred carvings. The priest agrees to pay 50 pieces of gold in advance. If the carvings are damaged during transport, the payment is still due. He keeps going. Every single line, every single word. He doesn't skip. He doesn't hesitate. And at the end of each paragraph, he explains it in plain English so anyone can understand. The archaeologists lean forward. They are taking notes. The lead professor from the first meeting is sitting in the front row. His face is pale. When the boy finishes reading the last line, the whole room is silent for 3 full seconds. Then it explodes. Applause, shouts, cameras flashing. The boy stands there, hands shaking, but he doesn't look away. He doesn't smile big. He just stands there, quiet and proud. Someone in the front row shouts, "What's your name, son?" The boy looks at the crowd. His voice is soft. Marcus Lee. A woman in the front row, a famous archaeologist, shakes her head. Kid, this language hasn't been spoken in over 2,000 years. You don't even have an accent right. The boy smiles a little. I don't need an accent, ma'am. I just need to read it. He steps closer to the table. His fingers rest on the glass. The crowd holds its breath. And then the boy starts to speak again, slower this time, explaining every part so everyone can understand. The lead professor from the first meeting leans forward. His face is white. How is this possible? We spent weeks, months, and you? He stops himself, doesn't finish the sentence. The boy looks straight at him. I just read, sir. That's all. The archaeologists are taking notes faster now. They lean in closer. The boy continues. See this mark? That means the master must swear an oath in front of 3 witnesses. The oath is written in the same hand as the main text. If he breaks it, the whole deal is void. This clause here specifies delivery timeline, 30 days from the new moon, payment in gold weighed in the temple, verified by 3 witnesses. This section references a different script woven into the main text. I need a minute. He closes his eyes for a few seconds, then opens them. It's an old Nubian witness clause. It proves the agreement crossed regional boundaries. Nubian trade witnesses were standard for high-value contracts crossing Egyptian territories. The silver-haired scholar in the front row gasps. My God, that's not a decorative flourish. That's a witness mark. The boy nods. Exactly. The whole contract is valid. The ruler's side honored the deal. The priest delivered the carvings on time. No penalties were triggered. The lead professor from the first meeting can't stop staring. He stands up slowly. You read this the first time I saw you? Marcus nods. Yes, sir. I read it the night before. I had it memorized. The professor shakes his head. I don't understand how you did this. We spent 3 months on this contract. We had 3 linguists. and you were just a kid standing in the doorway. Marcus doesn't say anything. He just stands there, quiet. The room is still buzzing. People are asking questions, taking photos, talking about how this changes everything. The boy steps back from the table. He looks at the crowd, then at the professors. He doesn't need to say anything. They already know. The humiliation is over. The truth is in front of them. The boy turns and walks toward the door. Someone shouts, "Wait, Marcus. We need to talk." He keeps walking. He doesn't look back. He just keeps moving, the same way he always has. 3 months later, the Carter Initiative is already changing lives. Marcus is 20. He lives in a small apartment in Queens. Mrs. Patel is there every Sunday, saving him a plate of food. She still calls him her little brother. "You saved me," she says every time. "You saw me when I was invisible." Marcus just smiles and hugs her. "No, Mrs. Patel. You gave me the books. You gave me the chance. The apartment is small, but it's his. The first place with his name on the lease. He still sleeps with the light on some nights, but it's getting better. He works as a translator now. He teaches kids at the library how to read the old languages. Mrs. Patel opened the evening program for homeless youth. 15 teenagers come every week. They learn from Marcus. They ask him how he did it. He tells them the same thing he always tells them. Just read. Don't let anyone tell you you can't. The world has changed. The contract that once looked impossible is now part of history. The boy who sat on the park bench reading by flashlight is now the reason the deal went through. The professors who laughed at him are the ones explaining it to the press. The lead professor who once threw him out now calls him son. He says it every time he visits the library. Marcus walks out of the apartment one morning. The sun is bright. He sees a little girl sitting on the steps of the old library, holding a book about ancient Greek. She looks up when she hears him coming. "Hi," she says. "I'm not doing anything wrong." Marcus smiles. "I know. I used to sit here too, waiting for the library." The girl looks at him, suspicious. "You like languages?" "My teacher says it's weird," she says. "Nobody thinks it's cool." Marcus sits down beside her. "I think it's cool. I work here. I translate ancient languages." He shows her his badge. "I started when I was your age. You can do this too." The girl takes the card he gives her. "For real?" "For real," he says. "Someone gave me a chance. I want to do the same." The girl leaves clutching the card and her book. Marcus watches her go. He sees his own past walking away, but also someone's future walking forward. The little girl is exactly what he once was. The kid who thought no one would see him. The boy who once read a contract no one else could read is now teaching the next generation. The world is different because he refused to stay silent. The world is better because he chose to stay. Marcus Lee stands on the steps of the library and looks out at the city. The same city where he used to sleep on benches. The same city where he was told he was worthless. But now he is the one who makes the rules. The one who turns impossible things into real things. The one who shows that genius doesn't need a fancy suit or a big building. Genius just needs someone brave enough to look at the kid in the faded jacket and see the truth. And that is what Marcus does every single day. He looks, he sees, he reads, and he changes everything. Marcus grew up in the same small house in the city that nobody looked at twice. The walls were thin. You could hear the neighbors arguing next door at night. The roof leaked in 3 places, and his mother had to catch the drips in buckets every time it rained. She kept the buckets under the bed and under the kitchen table. Marcus would take the bucket with the biggest hole and set it on the floor while she slept. He was 12 the first time he watched her cough blood into a tissue she hid under her pillow. She told him to keep reading. The books wouldn't leave him. He never forgot that. His father had been gone for 7 years. He was in prison for a crime he said he didn't do. Marcus used to write letters to him every week. He wrote about the books he was reading. His father wrote back short notes that said, "Keep going, son. The books are your home." But the letters stopped when the father was moved to a farther prison. No one took Marcus's letters. At the foster home, the lady called him the boy who runs. When he tried to fix the leaky faucet at school, she said, "You're not supposed to touch anything that belongs to us." When he shared his lunch with a hungry kid in class, she called it giving away what's mine. Marcus learned that the world had a rule. If you were black and poor, you were the problem. He stopped fighting back. He just stood still and waited for the next person to see him. That's when Mrs. Patel found him. She was the librarian who saw the kid memorizing pages. She gave him the card. She saved him food. She told him he was special. For the first time in his life, someone believed in him without asking for anything back. He read the ancient Egyptian book one night in the empty room above the store. He closed his eyes and saw every symbol. When he opened them, he knew he could read it. He didn't know how he knew. He just knew. The words felt like home. The library felt like home. The quiet felt like home. The first time the humiliation happened, he was delivering a package. The security guard grabbed his arm and said, "Get out of here, boy." Marcus stood there, hands shaking, feet planted. He didn't argue. He didn't run. He just asked for the translator job. The man laughed and said he had no papers and bad shoes. Marcus nodded and walked out. But he didn't stop. He read the book again that night. He memorized it. He walked back the next day and stood in the doorway. The room laughed when he said he could read it. The professor told him to get out. Marcus stayed. He read it out loud. 20 seconds later he was done. The room exploded. The boy who was told he was worthless stood there while the world changed because of him. 3 months later he is 20. He lives in a small apartment. Mrs. Patel visits every Sunday. She still saves him food. She still calls him her little brother. The library has an evening program now. 15 kids come to learn from him. They ask how he did it. He tells them the same thing. Just read. Don't let anyone tell you you can't. The contract that once looked impossible is now part of history. The boy who slept on benches reading by flashlight is the reason the deal went through. The professors who laughed at him are the ones explaining it to the press. The lead professor who once threw him out now calls him son. He visits the library and says, "I was wrong. You were right all along." Marcus stands on the steps of the library one morning. The sun is bright. He sees a little girl holding a book about ancient Greek. She looks up and says, "I'm not doing anything wrong." Marcus smiles and sits beside her. "I used to sit here too." He shows her his badge. "I started when I was your age. You can do this too." The girl takes the card and says, "For real?" "For real," he says. "Someone gave me a chance. I want to do the same." The girl leaves clutching the card. Marcus watches her go. He sees his own past walking away, but also someone's future walking forward. The world is different because he refused to stay silent. The world is better because he chose to stay. Marcus Lee looks out at the city and remembers the boy who cried because he knew he was running out of time. He remembers the mother who said, "Keep reading. The books won't leave you." He remembers the library card Mrs. Win Patel gave him. He remembers the quiet voice that never raised itself in anger. He remembers the 3 seconds of silence when the room finally exploded. And now he stands here, 16 years old, wearing the same faded jacket, the same shoes with newspaper in them. But the world knows his name. The world knows his story. The world knows that a kid from the streets read a contract no one else could read, and the world changed because of it. Marcus takes a deep breath. The sun is warm on his face. The city is loud, but he can still hear the books calling his name inside his head. He smiles. He knows he is still just a kid. But he also knows he is more than that. He is the proof that genius doesn't need a fancy suit, or a big building, or perfect shoes. Genius just needs someone brave enough to look at the kid in the faded jacket and see the truth. And that is what Marcus does every single day. He looks, he sees, he reads, and he changes everything. The story doesn't end here. It keeps going. Because Marcus is still reading. He is still learning. He is still teaching the next kid, who thinks no one will see them. The city keeps turning. The library keeps open. The books keep waiting on the shelves. And somewhere out there, a new kid is sitting on a park bench, or a subway platform, or an empty room above a closed store, holding a library card that someone gave them when no one else would. Marcus Lee will be there to see them when they walk in. He will see them. He will read with them. He will never tell them they are worthless. He will never tell them they are too much trouble. He will just sit beside them and say, "I read that book too. You can read it too." And the world will change again, because that is what Marcus does. He changes everything, every single day. One kid at a time, one book at a time, one person who finally sees the truth. The end is not the end. It is only the beginning. The city keeps moving. The library keeps open. The books keep waiting. And Marcus keeps reading, keeping the promise his mother made to him on that last night. You are my strong boy. Don't let anyone tell you you're not good enough. He never does. And neither should you.